Welcome back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. I'm your host, Queen Frostbitten, and we're here today to get down, dirty, and sultry by staying open, educated, consensual, and safe. If you're returning, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for supporting the channel and its growth. If, of course, you're new here, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe, because one taste will never be enough. Awesome. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. Today we have Miss Davis. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself because obviously no one can do it better.
Hello, everyone. I am Krystal Davis. I am an adult performer. I'm based in Las Vegas, but I'm always going to be an island girl, so originally from Hawaii. Good morning.
Nice. That's a fact I did not know. I did not know you were from Hawaii.
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
island girl. Always
I love
in
it.
slippers and bikinis. Yes.
I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you something that I didn't have prepared to ask. What made you move from Hawaii to Las Vegas?
Well, for those of you or anyone who knows me, I am a mom. So children move and I'd like to be closer to them when they move to college. So it was time to leave the island and go to the mainland. And so we just kind of followed from there. Jobs also has taken us to move from places to places as well. So
Right. Yes. I find that a lot in our kind of work, kind of following the money.
yes.
So I get it. Okay, so we kind of talked about you being an adult performer. Was it an easy industry for you to get into? Was it something that you just kind of happened into? Like, how did you get there?
So I've always been a very sexual person. So I've done some kind of sex work, not even realizing it before.
Right.
But I've always been open to expressing my sexuality. I've done live shows before that was just for free and just an exhibitionist altogether. So when someone had asked me to film, I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Because I have been filming myself with private, sexual time with others because I came from the swinging industry. So being on camera, I'm not scared at all. So when someone asks me, let's be on camera professionally or, a collaboration with someone, I'm like, shoot, let's do it. So to me, getting into the industry is just another part of my sexuality, of me expressing who I am and what I am. So switching from normal, life and normal sexual encounters into more captured on film wasn't that hard for me at all.
So you feel very confident, very comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So that leads me to a very burning question. I have not had an amazing opportunity to get someone from the swinging background. So whenever you got into swinging, kind of how did you get into that originally?
Accidentally, actually.
Okay.
I was a single mom, not living life. A friend of mine took me to a party and we were in the car and she's like, oh, just dress sexy and just present yourself. Maybe you'll find somebody, things like that. People are trying to really pair me up with other people. So I said, okay, I dressed up. I put on some nice shoes, nice sexy top with jeans on, of course.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to be open to this kind of thing. So, but before we got out of the car, she told me, I said, oh, by the way, don't give them your name, just tell them something else. And I'm like, but I'm supposed to meet people here, right? It's like, yeah, just don't give them your name. I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to say? At that time, I was wearing high heels that says sexy on it. So she said, oh, just say sexy. Sex. I said, sexy what? I'm not, I'm not even that. It's like, just sexy something. So, um, so I was like, okay. And then we entered this location, and it was a swingers party, not one of those that's like an orgy happening in front of you, but it's like a nightclub where it's like a meet and greet where you meet people in the swinging industry. So that's how I got into the swinging. A lot of them, I was talking to people, and I was talking to them as if it's just a regular party. Then I realized people were trying to just hook up, nonstop hook up. And I'm like, oh, I'm at a swingers party. But the environment was so chill and relaxed, and so open, that I felt I belonged. So that's how I got into it. First, I started just making friends, and then next thing I know, I was like, I want to get into that. I want a piece of that. I want this. So that's how I got into that swinging industry, a swinging lifestyle. I met a lot of nice people just like me, single moms, or people, couples that have children. So I felt like I do belong in this environment, which I could express who I am and not feel sorry, or, have to feel sorry about it.
Yeah. So you don't have some kind of like pressure. Like there are so many people that feel pressure just because of like society's rules and all this craziness.
Yes.
Like if you are being yourself, you're doing it safely.
Right.
And it's a consensual environment, then nobody should give a fuck. They should just let you exist.
Exactly.
So whenever you came into the swinging, were you like looking at more of a unicorn kind of position, or were you exploring other things?
Could you, sorry, I just lost you somehow. I can't see you anymore. There you go. Ooh.
We back.
All right. My apologies.
That's okay.
Anyway, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
The question was kind of whenever you got into the swinging kind of lifestyle, whenever you were exploring, did you start out as a unicorn, or were you exploring other avenues? Because I know you said you were single.
I was single. I think my very first experience was with this couple, because I was very curious about females. I've always been interested. I've always looked at them like, oh, they're so hot, in a way where I think I'm just like, trying to tell them you're gorgeous and things like that. But I've always felt that there was something more to it. That is how I figured out that I was bisexual at that time. I spent some time with a couple of times with them. They're very, very nice. They were also parents. In fact, they were grandparents at the time. So I felt really secure, felt really safe, and I explored my sexuality through them, in terms of exploring both sides and experiencing both sides and sharing both a male and a female. So I did that for a while, and then I realized I didn't want just to be a part of a three. I just also want to have my own partner to bring into that kind of environment as well, to share with more people, which I kind of transfer that to my work right now, because I do love group sex. I do love the orgies. I do love the gangbangs. I do love more than two. So I think it's just all kind of like running through what I've always wanted, is to get back to those kinds of roots, that how I explored who I am now.
Right. Yeah. And that can be a beautiful thing. Like I found that it can be super empowering to accept those parts of yourself, embracing it and allowing it to grow, instead of like trying to, stuff it under the carpets or something.
Right.
Okay. So whenever I know you were talking about, you kind of did the exhibitionist stuff, kind of free and freelance. You just kind of enjoyed doing it. And then you kind of got into the industry portion of it.
Uh-huh.
Did you have any like connections, any friends that helped you along the way, or was it just completely you?
I actually, the first person, so this is how the life started. I was visiting Las Vegas, and
Mhm.
my husband and I are like, okay, let's go play with somebody. And then I contacted someone from a website that I used to do live shows with, and
Mhm.
happened upon someone who was aspiring porn star.
Okay.
So we asked him to play with us, and then he came and he was like, do you mind if we record this? And I'm like, no, I don't have a problem with it. But at that time I still had a
Mhm.
9 to 5 career uh, that I could not put my face on. So I decided I'll do it, no problem, because like I said, I'm an exhibitionist.
Right.
I just put on a mask, and that was my very first collaboration. That's how I actually started doing where I'm at right now, into
Okay.
the porn star. But it was a collaboration with one person, and we recorded that, and that actually became one of his, best-selling clip. And he's like, you need to do more, you should do more. And we started doing a lot more films together. And that's how I kind of like transitioned from not really doing it professional,
Mhm.
and not really thinking I would make money out of it and things like
Right.
that. And it kind of just went from there.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, um, whenever you, of course, started out as a sex worker, I know you were kind of finding yourself. With finding yourself, what strengths do you notice that you kind of need to be in the industry?
Um, I do mentor a lot of younger people, that I try to tell them my story. You need to be firm of what you really want to be, or who you are.
Mhm.
Don't try to be someone that you are not, because it not only will affect you personally, but it also shows on film.
Right.
If you do not enjoy what you're doing, we can tell. Your co-talents can tell. The film that comes out, people will be able to tell. um, Unless you can fake it. To me, I do all of my scenes genuinely.
Right.
It may not always be a best experience, or you may not be as excited for every scene that you do,
Right.
but I always try to find things that I enjoy, which is so much easier for me because I enjoy having sex. So that's
Mhm.
the biggest part. If you enjoy what you're doing, it will show. So I think
Mhm.
the biggest strength is just knowing who you are and what you want will help you along in this industry. But if you're unsure, and you just the only reason why you're in it is because of the money, it will be difficult.
Right. Oh, yes. Or it would be like, so whenever you get into something and you have a passion for it,
Yeah.
there's going to be cooling off periods. So there's going to be
Yes.
times whenever you make a ton of money, times whenever
Yes.
you don't make a lot of money.
Yes.
So if you can't write it out whenever you have those hard times, and you
Absolutely.
don't have a passion for it, then you could walk away and have a short career. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Okay. So let's kind of look at the pros and the cons. So what would you say that the pros and the cons would be for being in the industry?
Um, you know, I've had 2 other careers before this. I think the biggest thing that is very, very true about our industry is the sense of community. I
Mhm.
think I've been in executive world, and I've done other careers. I know we have good friends in our jobs before, but this one, it is a true community. People do help other people. People do look out for other people in our industry. Um, People always wants to find something better, for either for the talents themselves, for finding better location, finding better testing, finding better or laws that protects us. So I think the sense of community in the sex industry is always so very helpful, nurturing. I can't even put a word to it, but it's just so different from other jobs that I've ever had. This one makes me feel really safe,
Yeah.
makes me feel really, um, lots of friends, lots of, relationships in a way that I've never had in past careers. So to me, that's the biggest positive thing that I could say, the pros in this industry. Yes, we do
Mhm.
make money. Yes, we do have our ups and downs in this thing, but um, to me, that's the best thing I could really describe this industry, is that the sense of community is very strong, very
Mhm.
supportive,
Right.
and you know something that I have not had in any other careers I've had before. Now the
Oh yeah.
cons, the cons, well, there's always cons to every career I've had. I
Mhm.
think this one is the ever changing stigma, not, you know ever growing stigma to our industry, where we're bad people, we're whores, we're
Yeah.
things like that. um but that doesn't face me at all, because like I've said before, if you know yourself, you know you're not. So
Mhm.
it doesn't really bother me, but it makes it difficult for people who don't know who they are, for people who are not
Oh yeah.
strong, up here, to just battle that, you know, combat that type of war that we always face
Right.
all the time.
Yeah. And it is crazy. Okay, so I've noticed since I've been in the industry now that the majority of people, they're okay with what you're doing until they don't get something from you. So there's a ton of people that are like, oh, well, you're so beautiful. You're so hot. I would love to have a date with you. Or I would love to be your boyfriend. Or I would
Yeah.
love to do this to you or that to you. And then you're like, I'm not interested. Thanks, but no thanks. And they're like, well, you fucking whore. Or
Yes.
it's like, okay, so a tiny bit of rejection hurts these people. It's like they feel like, oh, well, you're a whore. You like sex. That means you should like it with anyone. No, we're super picky.
Yes. And that's what, I think that's the
Mhm.
problem with people, what they see on film, thinks that that's how our lives are.
Yeah.
They don't realize that we do play a character in our films. Now there are people in our industry, whichever part it is, it's either professional or content creators and things like that. People do live the life that they put out on camera.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is true, that is
Right.
true. But there's also people who are doing character roles for films that they sometimes may not necessarily agree or
Or
love
partake in.
the
Right.
idea, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you just have to respect us with what we choose for our careers, but also
Yeah.
respect the fact that we are also just regular people, human. We are wives, moms, parents, things like that, that people
Yeah.
just don't know how to transfer that kind of information. So
Yeah.
that's why when I talk to my fans on whatever live shows I go to, or streaming, or podcasts, I tell them I am who I am. I like some privacy in certain things of my life, and I do
Right.
hope that you respect that. But when it is something that is open for me to discuss, I don't mind sharing that with you. Um,
Yeah.
but it also always goes back to the fact that, don't, for us performers, don't do things that you don't like, because it'll be hard for you to explain to your fans why you did it in the first
Right.
place, or to answer a question like, yeah, I did play that role, but I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I've seen this several times, like people getting attacked for roles that they play. There's someone paying them to play this role. It's not like
Right.
they come up with the idea themselves. There
Yes.
was a producer and a director, and there's this big elaborate whatever the situation may be for the story. And this person, it's part of their job. Like, yeah, you're not always going to do stuff that you like on your job, but sometimes that's money.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes you don't even know who you're working with at the day until the day of, or the day
Yeah.
before. So people will have to understand that this is just like any regular job.
Hmm.
We have to do things we don't like. sometimes we don't have other options, and we do have to feed ourselves, our families, and things like that, that we
Right.
need to sometimes do things that we're not in agreement with, or we're not totally buying as well, you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, I do want to let anyone that's listening know that whenever you're on some kind of, it doesn't matter if it's a professional or if you're doing a collaboration with somebody, if there's some kind of situation where you don't feel safe, some kind of situation where you feel like you're not comfortable or confident or you're being taken advantage of, you can say no. You're
Yes.
like, I've seen so many people that are like, well, at the time, this person put me on the spot and they pushed my hard limits or my soft limits. Unfortunately, there are people out there that do that.
Yes.
You can say no.
Yes.
You can walk away.
You
You
can
don't
walk
have to continue
away.
to do whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
So I just want to
And,
stress
and
that.
right. And I wanted to let people know that if we are on set, we did consent to the things that we're doing,
Mhm.
but we also do have that choice and option to walk away because they've done, or they are continuing to do things that we did not consent to. So yes, we
Yes.
do have that right to just walk away. Um,
Yes.
but most of the time when we're on set, we did consent to, hey, this is what's going to happen to you, this, and that. Yes, I consent to that. It's in writing, it's in paperwork.
Mhm.
But there
Mhm.
are things that we mentioned prior to the shoot that these are my hard no's. I don't want this, and this.
Yes.
And if you do this, this is done. So
Right. Yes. And stick by that. Don't let them push you around
exactly.
because it'll make you a terrible experience for you. And then not only are you not going to want to do the next scene, but it makes you procrastinate kind of work because that's a form of trauma.
Exactly. And it you know, it goes right here, and once it's right there, it's hard to kind of like let it go.
Yeah.
So bad experiences are definitely something that is a con to this kind of work, is that once you have a bad experience, sometimes it's difficult to let it go. And you know,
Mhm.
I've mentored, as I've mentioned before, I've mentored some younger ones who have had some things like this, and you know, talking to them about it, that it is your body, it is your right.
Oh, yes.
You can do whatever is right for you. You are not held by, you know, nobody can force you to do something you don't want to do.
Yes, exactly. And the environment shouldn't be promoted as that anyway. Like, oh, I'm going to force you into this situation.
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you, there are some dick people out there that's going to be like, oh, well, this is your hard limit. Let me see how close I can get to it.
Yeah. I think, you know, I think the one thing that's going for me is I am old. I am older than most of the performers that I have worked with. Actually, I've only probably worked with one or two that is just about the same age, or
Mhm.
slightly older than me. So I guess I have not really experienced anyone who's tried to do that with me, but I have
Right.
heard a lot of sad stories out there, and hence me trying to mentor some of these younger ones to be
Yeah.
stronger people than they are, um, and you know, stop it as soon as it happens.
Yes.
But that has to do with knowing yourself, knowing your limits, and stick with it, and
Yes.
just make sure that it's communicated very well, and that you are prepared to be firm with your word.
Yes. 100%. I completely agree. Oh, and I did not say this earlier, but if you do not follow Krystal on Twitter, make sure you do. Also, there's all kinds of amazing links over there. Let me tell you, you're going to want to get over there. Um, it's at Krystal Davis XXX. Let me tell you, you want to be there. I've been following her for a little while now, and I can tell you, I'm pretty excited following. So I know you will be too. And
I'm,
that's kind
I'm,
of
I'm crazy. I like to live life. So you know, whatever you see on my timeline, that is life for me. So
well, I'm gonna tell you, I was really interested in quite a bit of the stuff that you got going on, but I think my biggest inspiration and excitement for following you was your I don't give a fuck attitude. I love myself. Like this is me. Because that's how I am. And It wasn't like I was looking at your photos or looking at your feed and I'm like, oh, it looks like she's trying to be fit this agenda or trying to be this person. I'm like, nah, she has found herself and she's glowing and I love it.
Like I said earlier, I am old. I just want to live life. I know that I have flaws, of course, absolutely. Everyone has flaws. I have physical flaws. I have, like I said, age doesn't, age is the one thing that people are saying, oh, you enter the professional world kind
Oh
of
my
late
goodness.
and all that stuff. And you know what? Okay, but I'll still do what I want to do. Like I
Yeah.
said, what you see with me is who I am and what I like to do and what I enjoy doing. So however you want to take it, feel free.
Yeah.
I
And
don't,
there's like stuff for everybody. Like, have you never heard of these categories? Come on. Like, you're never too old or too young. Well, I take that back. You can be too young. If you're under 18, you are too young.
hey,
Well,
that's fine. Yeah.
but as long as
Right?
if
18
you're
and up,
18 and
please.
up. But like, whenever it comes to that, there are categories for everything. Like everything. Don't let it make you shy. Don't let it make you pull away. Um, I'm gonna tell you, when I first started following you as a suggestion, my Twitter suggested it, and I'm like, yes, that is a great suggestion. So so I started following you because of that.
I
And then
always, I like I said, I'm a mom and I used to coach sports. So I
Mhm,
coach volleyball, basketball, and I have, players that can do everything. So
mhm.
I kind of transfer that to myself. I'm like, I'm an all around porn star. I do anything
Yeah,
and everything. So, and I love exploring new things. If there's something that I want to do, I go ahead and go get it or get an
right.
experience and see if I like it or not. And that's kind of me. There's so many things that I've wanted to do, and thank goodness I'm able to kind of like check a bucket list for me and things like
Mhm.
that. But I feel like like a child on Christmas morning. Like I want this, I want that, and I kind of just
I
open
just want it
everything.
all.
Yes, I just want it all. I wanted the experience. I've had to grow up so fast because you know I I had to support myself through school and then and I became a single mom. So life kind of just went through the side. And I know that even though I was doing a little bit here and there, I had to focus on my kids. So when they're grown, I'm like, let me try this now. Let me keep going and keep going. And that's how I
Yeah.
kind of just tackled this industry where let me experience what I wanted to experience. I know I'm a lot older now, but I will try and try to kind of like check my bucket list. And so far it's been great. All the experiences I've had has helped me grow and just explore at the same time. And that's why it makes this like career for me enjoying it. I really,
Yeah.
really enjoy it and I love it. And, I want more as much as I
Yeah.
can get.
For sure. For sure. I fucking love it. I fucking love it. So that's actually going to lead me to my next question. I know that you said you have your husband, and I want to kind of ask about your support system. So, outside of sex work, do you have a support system? Are you like open with your friends and family? And how do they kind of feel about you being a performer?
So, of course, my husband is very supportive. My children know what I do. They're very supportive. They're actually the ones who tell me, "Oh, be careful. Don't mess with your assets, mom," kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have very supportive children because I've always been open with them when they were
Right.
growing up. I've always told them everything. Um, some of my close friends know, but because we moved from one location to the other, majority of my friends now are people from the industry, but I do
Hmm.
have a few, I would call them, during swinging lifestyle, vanilla friends, uh,
Yeah.
that knows what I do. And they kind of like, sometimes they message me and say, "Hey, I saw this and that. Your hair looks different." They just look at it in a different sense, but they're very supportive about it. I do have other people who's known me in that swinging lifestyle before, who's reached out to me. Is like, I didn't know you've gone pro. Why didn't you say anything? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I know people are gonna come across my films.
Right.
Um, and it's up to you guys if you accept it and you can talk to me about it, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to go and say, hey, I do porn. I'm a porn
Mm-hmm.
star now. Come check out my videos kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far, the few people, my friends and family who knows, they're very supportive. And, that's my support system. But majority of my support system is the community that I'm in right now, which is
Yeah.
more than I could ask for.
Great. Great. I always get excited whenever somebody's telling me all these amazing things about their support system and kind of how they can bounce stuff off people. So I guess that kind of leads me to my next question. Whenever you're finding inspiration, what do you do for inspiration? Like, do you bounce ideas off of your support system? I know you said you kind of talk to your kids a little bit.
Bouncing ideas or getting my ideas, really my partner, my husband is always the person that I always talk to.
Mhm.
I call him my partner, my manager, my whatever. He's my everything. He always calls himself the unpaid intern. He's always because I would say sometimes he even knows me better than I do myself.
Mhm.
Um, he's the one that I would always talk to. He's the one that I would discuss scenes with. He's the one that would also try to spark up ideas in myself. Because sometimes when you do one thing kind of over and over, like the sex part and all that stuff,
Oh
it
yeah.
can get kind of boring. So we come up with ideas. He comes up with something, and then we talk about it and see, is that something that you're interested in? And I'll be like,
Mhm.
yeah, or no, not really, maybe,
Yeah.
whatever. And then we kind of work from there.
Right.
Um, the children are always just like after the fact, they are like, oh yeah, that looks good, that sounds good, or whatever.
Mhm.
Or they look at my wardrobes like, no, you should
Yeah.
change to that kind of thing. So really the bouncing of ideas, it's either the people that I am working with or collabing with,
Mhm.
but really mainly my main person is my husband.
Nice, nice. I'm super, super excited to hear that. I do want to ask, did you have a relationship started with him before you got into the industry, or was it somewhere you kind of met during?
So I met my husband at a swinging event. So that's where we both came from.
Okay, okay.
So from there, we kind of just started dating, and then we got together, had a child together. So he's
Yeah.
been with me for a very long time. Like I said, he's my partner, my mentor, my everything.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what I'm going to do if it wasn't around. So um, we have always done things together, separate or whatnot, or
Mhm.
and as he always says, he's my number one fan.
Good. That's so exciting. That's so exciting. I know that there's been several people that I've kind of talked to that they kind of date within the industry, but they don't find somebody that just meshes so well with them, like, like permanence. And
Yeah.
I love that you found that. I love it.
Yes, I am
Okay.
a very lucky person.
So whenever we're looking at kind of, I know we touched on, you didn't really have any negative experiences whenever you went into the industry, and throughout you've had positive experiences. You've known other people that have kind of had negative experiences, but you haven't personally had any. um that leads me to my next question about kind of any traumas that you've experienced. So as a child or a teenager or your early adulthood, were you ever exposed to any kind of trauma?
No, not at all. I've been very fortunate. I think I came from another country. I came from the
Mhm.
Philippines. So I moved to the US when I was 16. Um, but I've always been very open to things. I've always been very accepting of certain, things to an extent, of course.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but anything that's happened against my will or against anything that I believe in, Unfortunately, no. Not as a regular person, not sexually or anything. I think I am blessed with not having any kind of trauma in my
Mhm.
life. So, and
Good.
you know, I count my blessings in that way, is what I would say.
Good. I'm glad. And I'm super glad that you can be a light to so many, especially with you taking on the mentoring. Like, that's amazing. I'm going to tell you what you do is a full-time job, and to help other people along with it. I don't know how you find time for it, because
I,
I know how busy I am.
I think I am such a mom that everyone I feel like I need to protect as well, and help
Mhm.
nurture and things like that. Sometimes people just happen to just find me and they're like, can I call you when I need? I said, of course. I'm like, uh, uh, there are some issues in our industry where it affects people's mental state. And
Yeah.
I think it's always good when you can find it anywhere. And if that means that it's me, then I am more than happy to give that to whoever needs it or asks for it. Because it's not always available,
Yes.
much so outside of our industry, it's an issue.
Mhm.
Same thing with our industry. So whatever I can do to help with that, I am happy to.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of why I was asking about the support system. So it's like, not everyone has that, you know.
Right,
I wish there was a safe space where we could just help everyone through whatever they were going through, because
right,
there's a lot of mental illness, a lot of
right.
mental instability across the board, regardless of where you work. And I'm going to tell you, the majority of the people that I have talked to that are in the industry have a better mental state than people that work in corporate jobs.
Yes, yes. Like I've told you, like the community and our community is so much different from corporate
Mhm.
jobs, because I've been there. I've had corporate jobs. I've had in a different sector or industry, and I've had few jobs where you would think that that environment would not have mental issues with their employees, but
Right.
it's just, I think every industry will have some sort, um, but the support system is always so different because the mindset is very different in all of those
Mhm.
industries. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that kind of leads me to my next question that I have for you, and it kind of blends with the mentorship that we were talking about. If you could give your younger self any tips, what would those be?
I wish I've done this long time ago. It would have been in my prime.
Hmm.
I think if it's for me, I would have said, you should have listened to yourself earlier in life, where
Yeah.
you think this is where you belong. You should have, do it. So to me, my tip would be, when you think about it, go ahead and do it then, because
Yeah.
later may not happen, or later might be too late. And you just
Mhm.
shorten that time where you would enjoy yourself rather than, you know, um,
Right.
enjoying it early on. So
Yeah,
that
for
would be the
sure.
tip. If you want something, go get it, go do it
Get
now.
it. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, do not let her throw any kind of shade, because she is in no way can you watch her films and be like, oh, she's older. Nah, listen, I've seen some stuff, and let me tell you, prime. You are in your prime.
I always say every time I go inside, I'm like, how long you want me to do this? I'm like, I don't know if my knees can take it, but I'll give you my best. And then everybody's like, you said you couldn't do it, but you did it anyway. I don't know about, I think it's when I get to that situation. Like I said, I love sex. I just enjoy it so much. I get into this headspace when I'm in it that I'm like having so much fun that I don't
Yeah.
even sometimes think about, oh, my back is gonna hurt or my knee's gonna hurt
Hmm.
after that position. I'm like, let's do it,
Right.
let's tackle it. Let's come on.
I want it all.
Yep.
Give it all to me.
Yep. And I'm
Well,
like, and the only thing I got to think about is, okay, I told them I wasn't going to do this part, but I can't because I'm like, my adrenaline is going right now and I can. And I'm just going to slowly transition it to give the camera guy time to kind of like,
mhm,
maybe pull back a little.
right.
But that's something that goes on in my mind. Yes, I worry about the camera, but sometimes I'm just like, just film whatever you want to film. I'm just here
Right.
enjoying myself.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of funny that you mentioned the camera guy. So whenever you kind of did the streaming live and then transitioned to the industry where you actually had cameras like up in your face and next to your unmentionables, like how was that different for you?
I'm particular very particular to details. I When I was streaming live, I always wanted to show the best part.
Mm,
So, like I said, that's why transitioning to pro it wasn't very difficult for me because I
yeah.
know that back then it's not just your faces. You want to see what's actually happening and things
Right.
like that
Yeah.
because that's what people want to see. But yeah, eventually you want to show your face because you want them to know and see and maybe even feel while they're watching how you're feeling. So
Yeah.
back then, I've always been worried about what's showing and can people really relate to what they're watching. So when
Mhm.
I turned pro, I know that they got to see the good stuff, the
Yeah.
best parts. So, um, but in the pro, in our industries, it's a little different. The guy needs to know that. They need to they need to know what's showing out there. Is it a good? Is it something that they can visually see and can visually relate to?
Right.
I don't get me wrong. I have had experiences where the guy is not as good as he should be, knowing his angles and things like that. And I've had
Yeah.
to kind of reposition myself to help with that because I have
Mhm.
that already stuck in my
Right.
mind and I know that already. So um, I've always been very keen on, am I facing the camera correctly? Or sometimes I do question myself if I'm right over there and the camera's right over here, should I be coming towards the camera some more
Right.
so we can show that? I like it when a shoot goes very smoothly where we don't really
Mhm.
have to cut because we're not showing what we need to cut or
Right.
what we need to show. So if we can do that in a smooth manner and not have to keep repositioning ourselves,
Mhm.
I am all for that.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
it's not just time. I consider my co-talents time or
Yeah.
whatever he needs to do as well. It's hard for a male to stay up for 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
and keep stop and
Yeah.
go. So whatever I can help to smooth out that process, I'll do. I am what I would call a team player.
Mhm. Right, right. So have you ever had any kind of scenes that you filmed where there was trouble because of that?
Yes. It's I've had multiple. I mean, and there are not bad experiences. It happens.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
I do a lot of strap-on films myself, so I,
Mhm.
I do put on a dick.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. That was one of the first photos I seen of yours, which
yes,
is why I was like, because that's right up my alley.
right. So I mean, I do that, and I know that I have a hard time sometimes with just angles and positioning myself with a female performer,
Right.
but I don't have to worry about keeping my dick hard.
Yeah.
So for a male performer, that's what they've got to go through. The same thing I go
Yeah.
through, a lot of thrusting, a lot of positions, a lot of awkward positions that I have to do to produce what needs to
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
I have had experience where guys are just either tired because it's been a long day, or they're just having a hard time staying up because of the cut and go,
Yeah,
and things like that. Or there's
for sure.
just some that are just so intimidated by me, or I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. So, it does happen, and it's up to you, the people that you're working with, to how to address that. Either what can
Mhm.
we do to help you? Do we need to take a longer break, or things like that, to make that person as comfortable as possible, so we could go back to what we're doing. So, but yeah, it does happen, and it's happened quite a bit with me. Um, but we got through the whole thing because, like I said, I try to support what I need
Mhm.
to do. Hey, I said, am I doing something that's making you do that? Let me know.
Right.
Or what turns you on, and what keeps you
In the
good
headspace,
up
right.
here, so we can
Yeah.
make this good down here, kind of thing.
For sure, for sure. So, Krystal, what do you consider yourself? So I know we were just talking about kind of the strap-on play, and you kind of fill all kinds of positions. So do you consider yourself a dominant? Do you consider yourself a submissive? Do you consider yourself a switch? What are we dealing with?
I am, you know, I am a switch, for sure. But I only switch to sub when I know that the person dominating me is a strong one.
Hmm.
There's
Okay.
two
Okay.
ways I would be a sub to somebody. A very strong
Mhm.
dom and a sensual dom.
Oh,
Those
okay.
two ways I'd like to be handled.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, if you're not, I will flip a switch on you really quick.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
So
Okay.
I guess that makes me definitely a switch, because I can be someone who is yes sir, yes mistress, uh,
Hmm.
but if you're not, and if you cannot handle that, being strong and handle me, I will
Hmm.
flip a switch on you and I will boss you around.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. I can respect
It's happened on a
that.
set before, where I'm like,
This isn't working. Yeah, this
I
isn't working.
just could not. So
Need
I'm
to
like,
change
can
roles.
we switch? Can we flip? I'll definitely give you what you want. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Awesome. And that's one of the awesome benefits about being a switch too. You can kind of take the environment, take the people within that environment, and
Mhm.
kind of deal accordingly. Not everyone can do that.
Yes.
So it's really awesome that you can. And I kind of noticed that from your work too, but I wasn't going to say, oh,
Yes, I do love being dominated sensually, and if
hmm.
you're really strong, I do love it. It's not very often. It doesn't happen
Hmm.
often enough, because I guess I am a very strong dom as well. So
Right.
unless you can get over that, then yeah. But once I realized that you can, oh my gosh, you can tell me anything
It's
and
on.
everything.
It's on. Okay. Okay. So that kind of leads me to my next question about your interests. So, um, tell me about abnormal kinks. How do you feel about abnormal kinks? And do you have any soft or hard limits?
Um, you know, there's there's nothing that really falls under abnormal kinks. I think a kink is a kink, fetish,
Okay.
whatever it is to me. If you like that, you like it. I mean, I can't
Hmm.
tell you otherwise, right?
Right.
But to me, I do pretty much anything. I do know, because of my age, because of my physical self, there are some things that I would be limited to, but I love trying new things. I love exploring new things. I'm
Hmm.
into roping, I'm into suspension. Not
Hmm.
that I can handle all of that for long periods of time, but I
Right.
would, if I was a little younger, a little skinnier, a little shorter, or maybe lighter, whatever, I'm probably up there all the time. Ropes and shackles and bands and everything is really what gets me going. Um,
Hmm.
I
Okay.
love those things. I do know a lot of people loves my feet. Um, I think my only hard nose would be is scat and pee.
Hmm.
Those are the really things that I would probably just say no.
Right.
Now, I'm an all-around player. If I'm a basketball player, I'm an all-around porn star.
Right.
I have not experienced it myself accidentally or,
Hmm.
purposefully. So I wouldn't know. So hard limits are something that I would say, I don't want to do that, but then I'm also easy to talk into
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So
Okay. And oh my goodness. So I was talking to several DOMs about whenever you get into subspace. So once you get into, it doesn't matter if you're in subspace or you're in DOM space, or as long as you are not in your solid sound mind. So whenever you're whenever you're in an interaction with someone, and it's kind of like you're feeling the rush of whatever's going on, it's kind of like a drug. It's kind of like you're high. And at that moment, it is not okay to negotiate with people because they could be more susceptible to being like, yeah, let's push those limits.
yes,
And that's not fair.
yes,
So anybody that's listening, you may not understand that now, but maybe we'll do something in the future on it. But whenever someone is in some kind of space that's altered, don't push limits, soft or hard. You might think, oh, well, now I can see if I can get what I want from them. No, you should always
it's
disclose
not.
what you want to do before.
Yeah, that is when you
Most,
cut it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Most people, they have like a form or some
right.
kind of like disclosure. They're going to talk to you about what's going to be going on during the
Mhm.
scene. They're going to be talking to you about ins and outs about what's okay with you. If someone doesn't do that, that's a red flag right there. If
Right.
they're not talking to you about what is okay to do beforehand,
Yeah,
leave.
it's actually most of the production companies will send you your checklist of hard no's and
Mhm.
yes. You fill that out and be firm with it. When you're in film, sometimes when some and I'm going to be honest, sometimes it happens during filming where this is looking good, and then we cut, and then the director, producer, whatever, whoever is there directing it, saying, hey, this really looks good. Do you think we can do this? And at that time, you can verbally say yes or no. And if you
Mhm.
say no, they will stop and not say, okay, well then let's go back and keep continuing to do what
Right.
we're doing. But there, it does happen because sometimes it is for the better of the film. Um, but like I said, if you have that hard no, they should follow that, bare minimum, at least follow what you said. And then
Yes.
if anything else that needs to be added throughout while you're filming, because it's an 8-hour day, 8 to 12 hours sometimes,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
things might change. But if you just stay firm with what you're willing to do, I'm like, I have said something that, in my experience, I've said something that, no, this was a hard no. And this was in the very beginning of my career. I had said no to something. And then while I was in that space,
Yeah.
and because I am particular to details, they said, hey, this would look better if we did this. What do you think about it? As long as you get the option to decide,
Yes.
then you can make changes as well.
Right.
And then at the end of filming, they do that exit interviews, like, did you do something you didn't want to do today? And you would have to say either yes or no. And you know that is up to you as well. That is your
Right.
option. That is your right to either change something during, before, during, and after of any shoot that you go into, collab or pro.
Yes. And let me tell you, if you are talking to them about this is what I don't want, and they're like, oh, well, you're just ruining the mood, leave. That's a red flag.
Yeah. Oh
If
yeah.
they don't want to talk to you about what's going on because they don't want you to ruin the mood, or no. If it's an inconvenience, if your needs are an inconvenience to them, that lets you
Yeah.
know that they're not going to care for you. So
Once they take out your option, once they take out your
yeah.
right, I think that's the time for you to go.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Okay, so I know earlier we spoke a little bit about kind of some days you don't know who you're going to be working with until you show up and you're just like, here I am. So
Yeah.
um, whenever you're looking for yourself for potentially doing collaborations or you're booking, what kind of safety measures do you have and what kind of screening process do you use?
Well, there's the standard for the health one, which is we get tested, make sure that they're tested. I do research my co-talents quite a
Mhm.
bit. I go through their social media. If I'm subscribed to any of their platforms, I go look at their films. I do screen people in with what kind of clips or scenes they've done
Right.
before,
Okay.
how they look in it. So I do watch a lot of them. I do watch who they've worked with. I do
Mhm.
watch like their style, their brand, and try to see if it's a good fit with mine.
Right.
Um, the fortunate part about it is, like I said, I do pretty much everything, so anyone might just fit with me. Now, the only other thing that I look at is, are they being safe as well?
Mhm.
Not just in the industry, but in their personal lives. So
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm not putting myself in a position where I would question the person that I'm working with
Mhm.
while I'm working with them, because what kind of a person you are. Like, do you
Yeah.
are you, yes, you follow the standards for our industry, but what kind of person are you outside? Are you just
Tell me
you
about your
fuck
ethics.
everyone in, yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So I
Yeah.
kind of look at that into before I kind of approach people that I work with. I've actually been it's funny because you're talking about not knowing who you're working with the day of the scene, right? I had
Mhm.
this one experience where I got a call sheet and I'm working with this certain person and I don't know that person. So I kind of looked him up and I'm like, okay, yeah, perfect. I got to set that following day. I started talking to this people and calling him his name.
Mhm.
It wasn't him because that person couldn't make it. So they had to call someone else. But halfway through the day, I've been calling this person, the person that I thought I was working with, because they look so similar.
Right.
And they're like, and they made it an inside joke from then on. It's like, so we actually put his name on the scene, the person that wasn't there, but the person that I was working with had a different name. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, all this time I was thinking, I said, I kind of thought you look a little slightly different, maybe slightly taller than the other guy, but then, films doesn't show you.
Right.
But yes, I thought I was working with someone else half the time, and then I finally realized. They finally told me. They were laughing at me this whole time. They finally told me this is so and so, by the way, and I'm like, oh yeah, I
Thanks
didn't
for
know that
telling me that at the beginning.
exactly. But they were laughing, so I think they're just trying to, they're trying to make fun of me this whole time. And I was like, this is why you guys were laughing at me the whole time.
Mhm.
But yeah.
So we also talked about kind of you having relationships that with supportive people that kind of help make your life. What does your work balance look like with your life balance? So what's a day look like for you in that balance?
Um, it really varies a great deal. I travel a lot, so I'm not home as often as I would love to. But when I am home, I get up, I say good morning to the family, and they all go and disperse and go to their respective wherever their school, work, or
Right.
whatever. Um, but me, when I get up, I just, kind of have my coffee, kind of have that quiet time as I get up and do my social media as I'm having coffee. And then I get
Mhm.
ready for my day. I am probably ready almost every day because every day is a work day for me,
Oh yeah.
including holidays. Um, because as in our industry, it's hard to just have a regular life. So I am made up every day, as you can see,
Mhm.
um, because I do have to attend to my social media all the time. I
Mhm.
do some admin work when it comes to posting things to my other platforms. I do marketing and advertising almost every day.
Mhm.
Regardless if it's products that I have to review or items that was sent to me that I try to promote as well, because it was nice of them to send me some. Then
Right.
I always tell my fans, if you spoil me, I spoil you back. And that's the same
Yeah.
thing for everyone who sends me things. If they send it to me, I try to give it back in the way that I
Yeah.
can.
Same.
So my regular workday is, eh, but don't get me wrong, I do have time to play games on my phone or my iPad, I try to make sure that I balance it. It doesn't always work out, just
Mhm.
depending on the day, because sometimes I wake up, I have to just shower and get my things and go to a seat and be there for the rest of the day.
Right.
So you just never know, but I try to balance time with my family, my children, my husband, my work, uh things that I, volunteer to, because I am
Mhm.
a part of Suede Las Vegas, where we help other sex workers with grants in harm reduction products. So I kind of like play and just bounce back from here to there to there to there until I cover
Yeah.
them all, and not necessarily able to every day all the time. So
Mhm.
it's just I think I've it's not always easy to balance home life and work life. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that is the same for everyone else. And if they
Yeah.
do have tips to do that for everyone that can just be perfect, I would love to hear it. Um, but with our industry, you just kind of have to go with the flow most of the time, as long as
Yeah.
you know that you're taking care of important things and at home and at work, and they're
Mhm.
covered. You should have that should be considered as a good day.
Good balance. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So I know that you do a lot of your own booking and you just talked about doing kind of admin work on your platforms. Do you do all of your platforms yourself? Do you have somebody that kind of assists you or like an assistant?
No, and like I said, it's my unpaid intern, and I don't
Okay.
think I do have people who I have a videographer, and sometimes he edits for me, but most of
Mhm.
the time it's between my husband and I who does this whole thing on our own. So more him
Let,
than I am. Like I get the fun stuff, and he's so
let me tell you, it is crazy how many roles you have to take on whenever you get in the industry if you don't pay someone else to do it.
right, right.
Because you have to learn how to be a director, you got to learn how to be a producer, you have to learn how to be a photographer, you got to learn how to be an editor.
Mhm.
Like,
And you market and advertise and so, and yeah.
yeah. And you got to do that daily because if you step away, they're going to forget about you and go on to someone else.
You lose your momentum, and that's hard
Yes.
to get back. I mean, it all happened to us during the pandemic, and that was the hardest part, right? During the
Oh, yeah.
pandemic is where your momentum, and I just started going pro during that time. So it was like I went up, and then I was like, and then all of a sudden it's like the pandemic
Hmm.
momentum is down, and then trying to get back up was so difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of leads me to my next question for you, Krystal. Whenever you were talking about kind of getting your momentum and you started your social media, you started your, the rise for the industry, kind of how did you become successful with reaching other people that would be interested in your content?
You know, it's hard because when I first started, I felt like, oh, I'm too old. I'm not good enough. I'm not as sexy as everyone else that that person has worked with. He's gonna say no, and I said, oh, never mind.
Mm,
And then that's when I realized the least thing they can do is say no,
right?
right? And maybe they'll say yes, so you might as well reach out.
Yeah.
So I just started reaching out, like blank, message, and say, hey, I'm this, and that. I would love, to work with you.
Yeah.
Please let me know if there's any interest. And then that's just kind of like always been my thing. That's how I reach
Hmm.
out to people.
Yeah.
I have had people who said no, thank you, and but the majority of them that I've reached out to have been very either nice about it or
Mhm.
very respectful about it, and majority of them said yes. So I
Yeah.
think for me it's like you can't be afraid to reach out to people. The
Hmm.
least thing they can do is the most they can hurt you with is sorry, no, not interested.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because
Yeah.
you should be able to say no. I say no.
Yes.
So
100%.
um as long as we're not, rude and bad about it, I'll be like,
Hmm.
geez, I just asked kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just I'm not afraid to ask. I've been very surprised with the people that I've worked with and that they've said yes to me, and I'm very thankful to them,
Mhm.
because had they said no, I don't think I would have been where I'm at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
So to me, just ask.
Yeah.
It's 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 it may be not comfortable for a lot of people. It wasn't comfortable for me in the beginning. Um, but as I gotten a lot of yeses, the
Mhm.
more I became more
Confident. Yeah.
confident about asking people and
Yeah.
ask, others that, you know, I don't think it will say yes to me, and they've said yes to me. And you know what? They turned out to be the most sweetest people I've worked with, that kind of stuff. So you
Yeah,
just
for
never
sure.
know. And the thing is, I've been approached with a lot of amateurs lately, and they've asked me this and that, would you work? And I'm like, I came from that kind, and I've given people opportunities to work with me because I came from that
Mhm.
uh, position where I'm a nobody. I'm an amateur. I'm an aspiring, porn
Mhm.
star. If someone didn't give me that opportunity, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I have
Right.
given other people opportunities to work with me, to get them going as well. So kind of like you gotta pay it forward.
Mhm. So essentially what you're telling us is you're the Mother Teresa of porn. That's where we're going
No,
with
they
this.
just they just call me Mama Crystal in the porn world. So
Well, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I just got a couple more questions for you.
sure.
This question is something that has been burning in me, and I'm so curious. So, um, with your experiences over the time that you spent in sex work, kind of what did it teach you?
Um, we always, of course, learn something from from anything that we do. What
Right.
it taught me is that um, I can't let my flaws stop me from
Hmm.
um, getting what I want, or,
Hmm.
or what I need in my life, and it shouldn't stop anyone. Um,
Yeah.
to me, time, uh, effort, dedication, being responsible will get you a long way. I
Hmm.
think we are our worst critics,
Oh,
uh,
yes.
um, and we shouldn't let that affect our decision making, our lives. We shouldn't let that dictate our lives. So, from what I learned in this industry is that you can be whoever and whatever you want. Just don't
Yeah.
let yourself stop you from doing
Yes. Oh, I fucking love it. I fucking love it.
that.
Okay, so my last question for you is going to be, do you have any regrets?
Yes. The only regret I have is why didn't I do this when I was in my 20s? I wish I had known when I was that so much younger, um, that I can be this, because then I may not have, don't get me wrong, I've had great careers before.
Right.
But this is the most fun that I've ever had in a job.
Yeah, fulfilling for you.
Very fulfilling. I was an educator, and
Mhm.
that was fulfilling for me. But this one, that one was fulfilling for me because I see progress in my students. I see
Right.
that. But this one, I see progress in myself.
Yeah.
That's what that's the only regret I have, is because had I done this 20 years ago, um, I think I would have been so much happier as a person. I
Yeah.
think I would have been so much more fulfilled as a person, um, because then I know who my true self is.
Yeah.
That's
And that's
just
a beautiful
open.
thing.
Yeah, open within me, within my family, my friends, and whoever's watched me before.
Hmm.
So this is just me, and I love it. I'm loving it. That
Yeah.
would be, yeah. So yes,
I'm so
20
glad.
20 years ago would have been, oh,
Well, I'm glad you made it, period, because some people don't take the dive. They
yeah,
don't take the opportunity. And I'm
yeah,
going to tell you, there's literally categories for everyone. So it's
yes,
not like you have to be like a Barbie doll or you have to get all this plastic surgery. I, for one, really, really enjoy the natural aspects. So people that, now don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against modified bodies. I mean, hell, maybe one day I'll decide to get some kind of modification of myself, but I really like that people show confidence in a natural body. Like, I've seen some people that are kind of skeptical about stretch marks, or
right,
maybe they have like a muffin top, or maybe they don't have like super tiny tits, so they have the larger tits, so they look kind of saggy. That is
right.
normal. That's what
Yes,
that's what
yes.
that's what
I
you're
mean,
supposed to look like.
and and that's right. I mean, I have enhancements done, and I've had to do my tummy tuck, but don't do it because of the industry.
Yeah, no,
Don't do
do
it
it for
because, yes,
you.
do it for yourself. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to express earlier, is that it makes me feel good. That's why I'm
Mhm.
doing it. I'm not doing it for anyone else, and
Yeah.
that's what everybody should do for themselves. People in this industry, or people, period, do things for yourself, not because somebody wants you to, or somebody
Yes.
asked you to, or made you do it. Because at the end of the day, it is you that you have to answer to, no one else.
Yes. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's what I loved about your page. I love the switchy dominance that I seen on it. And I loved your I don't give a fuck. I'm here for me kind of attitude, because whenever you get into the work, if you're doing it for someone else, you're not going to be successful. For a moment, you may be successful. I'm not
Yes,
saying overall you won't be,
yeah,
but in the long term, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, if you're not finding passion in it, you're not going to be successful. Like, maybe you make a little bit of money, but mentally, are you really happy?
yeah. And I think a lot of people who's trying to get into the industry thinks that, oh, because I can make so much money. Yes, you may make a lot of money, but there will be days, as you mentioned earlier, there will be days where money is not right there.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. Every job is different. This one is the same, where you may not have the money that you're looking for. But
And you're
if
not
that's the
guaranteed the money.
exactly, and but if that's the only reason why you're in it, maybe you have to think about, are you in the right place where you want to
Yeah.
be? Because if you're thinking about, I'm gonna do porn to make money, not always the case. So
Yeah.
make sure that you have other reasons for doing so.
And the crazy thing is, I've seen people that are like asexual almost, that are like, oh yeah, I'm hot, I'm gonna get in and make a bunch of money. Let me tell you, yeah, you might make a little bit of money, but mentally, long term, that's gonna affect you extremely negatively.
Yes.
Like, it's gonna be too much. I'm just telling you right now. If you do not enjoy sex, you do not enjoy being there, you do not enjoy the environment and the growth, it's gonna take its toll on you. So
Exactly.
make sure you love what you do. Like, that's it.
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing. Do it for yourself, not
Yeah.
for anyone else, not for the money even, because if you're not happy with yourself, you won't be happy with what you're doing. So
Yes, I completely agree. Well, thank you so, so much, Krystal,
thank
for
you.
being so amazing on Forbidden Depths today. If anybody has any questions for Krystal, she has all kind of links. Like I said, you can go on over, follow her on whatever, all kinds of platforms. So make sure you get over there. Again, that's at Krystal Davis XXX on Twitter, and conveniently in her bio, she has all these amazing links for you as well. But thank you again, Krystal, for being so amazing.
Thank you. I had such a blast. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's Queen Frostbitten again, your host. I just want to remind you that you can follow us on YouTube at Forbidden Depths. That's FORBIDDEN DEPTHS. or over on Twitter at the number 4 BIDDEN DPODCAST. Remember to always stay educated, consensual, and safe. We'll see you on the next show.